there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. I have a kitten licking my toe. Ow! She got my ankle. Lots of fun going on around here. I don't even know where I ended. Let's start again. Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some DIY fun with fabric snowman for your home decor, so let's get started with project number 1. For today's project, I'm starting with this round circle. Now you can do a square. I'm going to be making a snowman pillow. I wanted a round one. This is cut out of machine, quilt that I bought off Amazon, and it's about 18 inches in diameter, really thin quilting. Now, if you want, you always know it's optional. I'm adding 2 pieces of batting as well, the same size, 18 inches in diameter. Now for the top, again, if you want, 2 pieces of batting, about 11.5 inches in diameter. But for the snowman face, I'm using this. It was a really inexpensive, like those tiny little lap quilts you can buy. I thought would be fun, to give a little texture. For the scarf, I chose this fleece. I got at Joann's. It's about 9.5 inches in length. I just cut a rectangle and rounded the edges, nice and easy, and about 2.5 inches tall. You can make it however long or tall that you want. And I wanted to make some little tails of a scarf, so these are what I cut out. I just kind of free-handed them. Yes, I do have a pattern, but it's actually on the pattern of the next project. So these are what I cut out. Again, this is like Snowflake fleece fabric from Joann's. This is just some orange felt. I free-handed a nose with a little optional cotton batting behind it to make it a little bit thicker as we add it onto our face. Now, if you're a gluer and you use batting, you can go ahead for the top. You can go ahead and glue your batting pieces down as well as whatever fabric you're doing for the snowman face. If you don't have batting, just glue your snowman face down. I am going to glue down the batting first on the top, both pieces, plus the main fabric. And then if you're a sewer, you can go ahead and sew around your snowman face on the top layer of your pillow only, whether you have a round pillow or a square pillow. I want to do some fun, just simple little stitches with crochet thread. I'm not going to do the blanket stitch, and somebody say hallelujah, because I called that stitch right for the first time. I am just doing some little stitches from the snowman face out to the edge, little straight stitches. And if you're a gluer and you want to add this as well, easy to do if you like to do a little hand sewing, and it's gonna look weird at first. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, but we're gonna be doing it to all the pieces, so that sewing's gonna add that little bit of grounding from the top fabric to the bottom. You can see how it looks so far. I'll finish the rest off camera. And then it's also going to add that kind of winter warmth to our pillow, believe it or not. So this is what it looks like all the way around. And yes, I know it looks funny, and it probably looks funny because of the, the texture of the fabric on top versus the bottom, but bear with me, it's going to be cute in the end. So now we're going to add our scarf pieces, okay? So my 2 little pieces here, again, I'm going to do the same stitching I did on the snowman face. This bottom piece, I want it to hang off. You don't have to. So even though I'm doing the stitching around it, I'm going to stop about halfway down and only stitch the bottom part of that scarf, and then finish the other rest of the way of stitching that tail to the pillow itself. But first I want to glue it down. It's probably going to be easier to watch than I explain it to you. Spot glue down both of these pieces to help hold it in place, and then I'm just starting, I'll fast forward a little bit, just starting with the stitches all the way around both pieces. And as you can see, I'm not starting clear to the edge because the main part of the scarf around the neck is going to cover that. So here I am, I'm kind of continuing around the side, again, same stitches. Again, blanket stitch would look really cute here. I think the most time this pillow took was the stitching because it's so easy and minimal to put together. Now you see how much edge I'm leaving there. I don't want to sew that down because I'm going to have to sew around the pillow to close it up, and I don't want to sew over the scarf tail. So I left that part up and then continued with the stitching around. You can see there really good around the tail, but it looks ugly. So I'm cutting a little piece that will glue right over that and cover up that ugly stitching on the other side since it's hanging off the edge. If yours isn't hanging off the edge, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're a sewer, you might want to just not sew that to that so you can sew around your pillow form. See how much nicer it looks? If you're a gluer, it's not going to matter. All right, now I'm going to do around this piece. Again, off camera, you're seeing what I'm doing here. Nice and easy with the detailing. If you're a gluer, go ahead and glue it down. And miraculously, here it is all the way done. Now you can start to see the warmth that that stitching adds, right? The nose, I'm going to use Distress Oxide Vintage Photo Ink because it's a really bright orange felt, and I don't want it that bright. I want to just darken it up a little bit. You can see, you know, the difference between the left and right side. And then if you're a gluer, go ahead and glue it down. If you want to add felt, glue that to the back and then glue that whole ensemble down wherever you want it. I wanted that thickness so it kind of matched in with everything else. And then off camera, I'm going to do the same little stitches around the nose, but really tiny. I don't want to really make them big long stitches with some orange embroidery thread. I'll show you here in a minute what it looks like up close, but that's the way it matches all the rest of the stitching. See, just tiny little stitches, give it a little bit of warmth and quilted look here. All right, and now I need to add some eyeballs. I've marked where I want to add my eyeballs. I'm going to use little black round beads. Walmart has a package of like small, medium, large beads all in the same package for around $4, at least ours does. So I'm just using, you can use thread or crochet thread as I'm doing here. I come from the back to the front, like on the second eyeball. Same process, add a bead. I want mine a little bit crookedy. And then I'm going to come right close to where I came out, not through the same hole, but right close, and go from the front to the back with my needle and pull it nice and tight. And then on the back, I'm just going to, you know, finish it off with a little knot, cut off the excess, and then I've got two cute little eyeballs there, just like that. Now, I'm going to lay the top on the bottom, all right, obviously. If you are a gluer and you're adding batting, here's where you want to glue your batting to each piece of your pillow. If you're not, don't worry about that, but you don't want to just have your batting like laying in there and then you glue it, you know, and add your stuffing. Your batting's just going to stuff inside. So gluer or sewer, you have to glue your batting to each piece of your pillow. And then if you're a gluer, come all the way around between the two pieces, whether batting or not, glue around that edge, and then add a little bit, about a hand width size to add your stuffing. If you're a sewer, go ahead and sew around the edge. Now I'm going to do a little bit of double sewing. I'm sewing really close to the edge here, about a 1/4 inch, and then I come back around about a 1/2 inch from that sew line and add another, just purely decorative. If you look behind the sewing machine, Boston's decided to join us, and I left this part in because it's hilarious. She wants to see what I'm doing. Try to push her face away so her nose doesn't get caught in the needle, and here she's really looking through, and I just thought it was so funny. But let's continue on with our project. All right, here's what it looks like. See my double sewing, again, just decorative. All right, I left an opening for stuffing, and then you're going to go ahead and stuff it as tight as you want it. I like mine really, really tight, but it's how you want to do it. And then once you have it stuffed, you can either, of course, glue it closed or sew it closed. All right, now I want to add a button. I had this from another project a long time ago. I cut it with my wood laser machine, but you can use any button that you want, and I'm just using some kind of drop cloth paint, a cream color is what I was going to say, Dixie Belle drop cloth paint on the front, and just distressing a little bit. I decided to go with a really kind of large size button because of the largeness of the snowman head and the scarf. I already glued it down a little bit. I'm just adding some rope here with a couple of beads at the end. And then I'm going to tie it into a bow, just nice and easy. And then I'm going to tie a knot at the end of each of my beads, the length I want, cut off the excess. Say it with me, smoosh the end, both sides. Perfect. And then I will glue down the remainder of the button because it's a little wobbly, but I just wanted it on there to, help hold while I was making the bow so I could see how big I wanted the bow against the, the giganticness of the snowman head. And I debated back and forth whether I wanted cute little pink cheeks because it is a pillow, but it's decorative. Also, if you are doing what I'm doing here, you have it hanging off, you might want to glue that down a little bit more to the edge, your little scarf tail there. All right, and then in the end, I decided to just take a little bit of Distress ink in lipstick, worn lipstick or something like that. No one will be leaning against this pillow. It's just decorative and cute. And once I do that, that makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Let's move right on into project number 2. Now this project's kind of a remake of one we did a couple years ago, but I thought it would be fun to just do it a little different. I made a pattern for you, link to my blog in the description box. As you can see, it's really wonky. It's not straight. It's meant to be that way. Here's your pattern for your nose. Here's the tails that we used on the pillow. And then this gives you the dimensions of the scarf. And then on the second sheet, this is the hat brim. All right, and then this is the directions for the piece, how big you need it for the top of the hat. I'm using this fabric for the Snowman Head. This is from Dollar Tree. It's Crafter's Square fabric. I'm using this for the hat. Again, optional, you know me, 2 pieces of batting, so it looks a little more quilted and it makes it just more full when you go to add the stuffing. So 1 piece top and bottom, optional if you want it. Sandwich it between your 2 pieces of fabric. Here's my scarf. It's about 24 inches long. 1.5 inches wide. Again, Snowflake fleece from Joann's. Here's the tails I cut out, although I don't end up using them. The 2 pieces for the hat brim with an optional piece of batting. You knew it was coming in there just to make it a little bit stiffer. Again, optional is the word. Here is my carrot nose. I actually cut 2 pieces of fabric, 1 piece of batting. There we go. You only need 1 piece, but, you know, front and back, whatever, just to make it thicker. Here's my hat piece with an additional piece of batting. All right, let's assemble. For the main tall hat, I'm gluing my batting to the back. And then for the brim, I'm gluing my batting to the back piece and then gluing the other piece of fabric to the top. If you're gluers, you're done here. All right, with that part. With the hat brim, I actually kind of take it to my sewing machine and sew around it, just decorative, although you barely see it. Then glue your nose together. You can see I have 2 other like wood pieces there because I did just for a second think about maybe using a wood piece for the nose, but I went ahead with the fabric. All right, so if you're using batting, glue each of those batting pieces to your fabric pieces. And then if you're a gluer, whether or not you use batting, it's time to glue your head together, but leave a small opening for stuffing. Right? If you're a sewer, I'm going to sew around it, but I've got to get my batting on the other piece. Again, glue each batting piece to each piece of fabric if you elect to use it. But before I sew my head together, I've got to sew my nose onto the top piece of fabric only, and then I can sew around it. Gluers, you're just going to glue your nose on wherever you want it. As you can see, I've got it sewn around and I've got my nose sewn on. It's time to add the eyeballs. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Put your eyeballs on first before you glue or sew your head together. I don't know why, it's like I got to get the head together and then I'm like, dang it, the eyeballs. So I'm going in through the opening and I'm adding the eyeballs just like we did with the pillow we completed. And as you can see, I'm just using normal thread to put it on. And if you forget like I did, it's really easy to go through that opening because it's just a couple of inches from the opening to the eyeball area. And just, you know, add your eyeballs, same process. And then you can kind of scrunch up the fabric like I'm doing here to kind of close it and knot it off and cut off your excess thread. All right. All right. Then go ahead, stuff your snowman head as full as you want it. I will sew it off camera later. Once I stuff it, I kind of set it aside so I can move to the hat for a minute. But I think this is kind of a fun variation from the other one we did. If you missed that, I'll have the link down below in my description box. I don't know if it was last year or year before we did it. Okay, so we're moving to the top of the hat. The piece I have you cut out is about 4.5 by 6, but I actually cut it down to about 3.75. You can cut it as tall or short as you want it, and then take your fabric glue or hot glue and just roll it up. Nice and easy. All right, and then where the brim of the hat's going to sit in the middle of the head, because we left our seams out, it's pretty tall, so I'm just kind of cutting off the excess there. Then I'm going to glue the top of the hat to the brim. All right, and then here's my scarf pieces. I thought it would be fun to just sew it around it for decorative. You don't have to at all. Here's my one main scarf. You can see it's wonky cut, not a deal, not a problem there. And then I'm just going to use my glue and glue it to the bottom of the head. All right, and you can see I'm all sewn up at the bottom there on the head after I finally got it to the sewing machine. But I left all the rough edge cutting on the scarf and everything just to go in with the wonkiness of it all. And then when you're done, glue the bottom of that scarf closed because it's kind of open there as you can see. Now this is just a tag I found left over in my stash from Christmas time. It's 2 pieces of muslin material with batting in between. I sewed around it, and then used my clickable stamps to, stamp snow wishes. I added a little bit of twine to one button. All right, and then 2 tiny snowflakes. Now, these are from craftingwithkimber.com, but they came out of a kit, so you can't buy them that tiny, but you can use whatever you want there. And then I took big twine and added some beads to it and tie it in a bow, and I'm going to add the tiny little snowflakes right at the top. You could do one big snowflake if you want, right at the top of the hat there. Perfect, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue the hat on the top of the head. Adding ample glue here, and I'll press it on really good, and then I'm going to use some straight pins. I'm going to pin the hat to the head to help hold it while the glue sets, and no worries, I remember to take the straight pins out. And then I'm taking a little bit of just brown ink and inking up around our little Snow Wishes tag. I'll go ahead and glue the twine bow at the bottom. As you can see, I threw out the tails. I didn't want to use them. I decided I didn't like the tails on there, but they're on the pattern if you like it. And then I glue down the Snow Wishes tag as well as the buttons. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot at the end of my beads there and smush the ends so the beads don't fall off. Perfect. And then I'm taking Distress Oxide ink. I was right. It's called Worn Lipstick. Previous project, I couldn't remember. Adding just a little bit of pink here. This is optional if you want or don't want to. I think it just adds to it. But I love the difference of this with the other Snowman Head we did last time. The link will be down in the description box below. If you missed that video here, I promised I did take the pins out. And winter is shimmery to me, snow is shimmery, so I do add some of my glitter dust to this project. I'll have the link down below to that. That makes this snowman complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Let's move into our last project, number 3. For this project, again, I have a free pattern for you on my blog, and I am using batting material for this. Here's the pattern. It comes 2 pieces. It is drawn wonky, drawn crooked. You're just going to cut it out and tape it together at the dash lines. And I'm using batting for my material because you can see how textured batting is. You can buy it by the bag at Walmart in different like twin size, queen size type, sizes. But I thought the texture on this would make it better for doing a little rustic primitive to it, but you can use whatever fabric you want and just cut 2 pieces. All right. For the scarf, it's probably 24 inches long, about 2 inches wide. I just ripped that for the scarf, giving it that rustic look. And then for the nose, I have actual little carrot piece, but I end up using a tiny little carrot and I cut the leaves off. You'll see that in a minute. 3 wood buttons. Wire at this point, I wasn't sure if I wanted silver or black. Both of these I got at Walmart, I believe. I end up with kind of that black wire there. Now, I'm going to use little mittens. Again, this came from a kit. I can't give you a pattern on it. It's not my design from craftingwithkimber.com. But you could draw little wonky mittens out of foam board or cardboard because you're going to paint them. And I'm going to use it on the little wires, the little arms. But I'll show you how you don't even have to add mittens. It looks just as cute. I'm going to use little beads for eyes. At this point, I wasn't sure what size I was going to use. Let's go into the arms. 3 pieces for each arm, about 6 inches in length. And I'm going to just start by twisting 2 wires together. Those are Bella's feet on the left. 2 wires together here. And I'm going to go about, a couple inches from the top. Leave it, stop twisting, and then I'm going to add the 3rd wire and just kind of loosely twist it around the 2 I already twisted. Again, leaving a couple inches at the top. And then I'm taking some just little round nose pliers and I'm just curling the edge. You can see Bella trying to get it. Those are like your little fingers. See, I've got 2. You could leave it like this. It would look just as cute. But again, if you want to add little mittens, I'm going to make sure that the wires will sit kind of flat against the back of the mitten. So I'm using some straight needle nose pliers here, regular pliers, just kind of smishing the wire against it. And then if you're a gluer or sewer, I marked a little 1/2 inch opening where I'm going to stick the little arms in. So if you're a gluer, go from like 1 mark, glue right at the edge between the 2 fabrics, stop at that mark, go at your 2nd mark, glue all the way around, leave an opening for stuffing, and then come back up to your very first original mark. If you're a sewer, you're going to do the same thing, leaving the opening for stuffing and 2 openings for your arms. Here I am sewn all the way around. See my 2 openings to tuck our arms in and my bottom where I'm going to stuff it. And then I just started cutting here. My seam is a little wide, so I'm just kind of cutting it down a little bit. You don't have to. All right, and then I'm going to turn it right side out. So the pretty side is out. It's going to look really funny because we haven't stuffed it at all. But I just thought, you know, you can leave the edges out like we did on the other ones. That's fine too. But here's my little carrot nose. I'm going to go with tiny eyes. The carrots came from craftingwithkimber.com. I'll have a link down below for you. And then, as I said in project number 2, forgot to put the eyes on first. If you're a gluer, you can glue your eyes on, or come up from the bottom where the opening is and put your eyes on. Here in a minute, I'm going to leave the natural sound in because as I'm trying to put the eyes in, Bella's trying to eat the eyes, and I thought you might enjoy that. We got a little Boston. Here comes a little Bella, but it's the same technique as the last 2 projects, adding your eyes. Nope. Mommy doubles. I can never have nice things. Goofy girl. I do goofy. Are you being a goofy? That's Mommy's eyeball. Leave Mommy's eyeball alone. No, that's Mommy's eyeball. Nope. Mommy's eyeball. Okay, Mama wants her eyeball back. Mommy's eyeball. Anyway, that just cracked me up. Now if you look to the left, she's trying to eat the stuffing as I'm tying my eyeballs off inside. I had to grab it away from her. Once your eyeballs are on, if you did it in the same silly order I did, go ahead and stuff your snowman as tight as you want it. It's still going to look funny because our little openings we left to put our arms in and stuff, but then once you're done stuffing, you can glue it or sew it closed. I did want to show you this. My snowman kept wanting to fall over, so I took a little bag of rocks and I put it toward the back side so that the snowman would set up, and then I finished stuffing it and I just sewed it by hand. This one I sewed by hand closed. Now I'm going to, here's my little carrot, and I'm cutting off the leaves, sanding that off. I'm going to use Waverly Antique Wax first and just add a little stain underneath, front and back on both sides. You don't really have to on the carrot, but I do anyway. That way when I paint over the top of all my pieces in Dixie Belle chalk paint drop cloth and I distress it, that little bit of brown will come up underneath it. And you'll see why later, because I do go to kind of rustic, slightly, I'm saying slightly primitive out my snowman, and we have some brown tones in there and it fits really nice. And then I use Dixie Belle in the color terracotta for the nose. So I'm just doing really lightweight coats here. And then we'll, you know, sand that off a little bit to give us a little bit more of a distressed look. Again, I'm sorry, but these are not my pattern mittens, but you could cut out mittens out of foam board or cardboard and paint it or whatever would work really nice. And then you can do the same process I'm doing, okay? Get a couple of coats on my nose. All right, and then distress everything up. I've got to remember to put the link for the carrots on there. Super cute. Got to remember to put that in the description box for you. Perfect. I love how these mittens turn out like all distressed up. I just want to sit and look at the sanded distressing and that Waverly Antique Wax coming out around it. It's just soothing to my soul. I don't know why. My favorite part. And get the nose ready. And let's move on assembling this thing and getting it going. I think I might say it again at the end. This is my favorite project. All right, Distress Oxide Ink and Vintage Photo. If you want to leave your snowman white and bright, go right ahead. I'm taking that with just a little foam pad here on a tool, and I'm just rubbing it just kind of around the perimeter, giving it a little bit of a halo, front and back. This is going to give us a little bit of primitive. I do add something else here in a few minutes just to give it a little something more. I do kind of more in the middle on the back side, but just, yeah, giving it a halo so everything in the center kind of shines, right? Now we're going to add our arms. See how cute that looks if you didn't add, just as cute if you didn't add mittens, right? Just as cute. So, you know, don't fear if you don't have mittens. I'm going to glue this to the back of the wood mitten here. Let that set up. And then out of batting, I just cut a little bit smaller. I traced a mitten and cut it a little bit smaller to fit the back so I could cover up that wire so it looks nice on the back side. You could use paper or whatever you want if you're doing this process like I am. Perfect. This one, the arm kind of sits up a little bit. I add some more glue. Hot glue will work fine for this as well. So I kind of have to put my little ink handle underneath it. There we go. So it doesn't lift up on the mitten, and then add the backing. Perfect. All right. So here's what I was talking about. I come in with a little allspice because I love the little granules. I just pour it on, and then I rub it with my hands, rub it in so it doesn't look like pore streaks. But I love how you can see the little granules on it. When we take a look at the end here and you see all the little cinnamon granules and stuff, I think that's really fun. But it's just an option for you. You could do like coffee and rub it in, or however you want to do it. If you're really good at the, really primitive stuff, you can really make it primitive. I think it would look kind of cool. And then I'm going to come in and add some little cheeks here. It started out darker, and then I had to peel like the cotton batting a little bit, so they end up a little lighter, but I like that better. And then I'm going to come in and add the scarf here and kind of make a little top knot, sort of, is the way I'm tying it. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue my buttons on. It's looking cuter and cuter, isn't it? I love this one. I add little twine through the center of the buttons off camera. And then I have a little snowflake here. These are from Crafting with Kimber. I'll have the link for that as well. You can buy those separately. And then we're just going to glue our little arms in. And what's nice is when you poke it through the hole, and you can poke it in as far as you want into that batting. That's going to help hold it. And then just glue your opening closed. See, I even poke it in a little bit more. Glue your opening closed around that wire. As you can see at the bottom of the wire where I'm adding the glue here, it's kind of splayed out. I did that so that it would really poke into the cotton really good. All right, and then glue it closed. And then once your glue's all set, I kind of, mess with my arms a little bit, put them in the position I want. See, I'm bending this one backwards a little bit. I'm going to bend this one down a little bit. I do add some shimmer with glitter dust off camera. That makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all of these projects today. I forgot to mention on the snowman, I kind of wrinkled and crinkled the scarf down and glued it in places so it wasn't just falling freely. You could add that little touch if you want to. But leave me a comment down below and let me know which project you're going to make. Please give this video a thumbs up. That's what really helps my channel to grow. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss another video from me. Now, before I go, as most of you wait for, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. God stands for you at the right hand of the Father. He stands for you because you stand for Him. 2.4 billion people stand for Jesus. Jesus. His love combined through hearts He created, living in hope through His grace. You are not alone and never will be. Jesus will always stand for you. He will always accept you. He will always be loyal to you. You are loved and created by an amazing God who has nothing but devotion toward you. He will lead you and guide you as long as you keep your eyes on Him. Always be determined to stand firmly with Jesus no matter the consequences. No matter what is happening in your life, stand firm and stand tall in the presence of Jesus. Do not look in any direction, but instead let your eyes be fixed firmly upon Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. He alone knows what you need with His exact timing to get you there. Live in the hope that Jesus has for you on a daily basis, and as you do, know that living in this hope is a continual act of faith, and faith must be the cornerstone of your hope. Without faith, you cannot hope. Without hope, you do not have strength, and without strength, you do not have confidence. Without confidence, your trust wavers, and your faith, just like your hope, endures in God because it is anchored in His character, His promises, and His faithfulness. In the Bible, the book of John, chapter 5, verses 14 and 15. Now this is the confidence that we have in Him, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. And if we know that He hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we asked of Him. Trust in God, trust in His word, and trust where He leads you, and trust in where He tells you to go. Allow your hope to be firm and secure in the presence of Jesus. who will always be standing there, watching, waiting for you, and most of all, have confidence that He will lead you to completion. Romans chapter 15 verse 13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with the hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.